Hello and welcome, and well, today is going to be a long video and one of my longest, and it kind of has to be because extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. And the topic of today is, did the Emperor want the Horus Heresy, but not only want it, but be the cause too? This is an important question, and honestly, I don't think you can have one without the other. There is many parts of it, and they all need to be looked at, and we need to form a true understanding. First things first, how much did the Emperor actually influence the upbringing of the Primarchs? We know he brought up Omegon, one half of the twin Primarchs of the Alpha Legion. Omegon is incredibly deceitful and questionably loyal, especially after his brother Alpharius' death. We can't exclude the Cabal influence on his decision to join Horus' side. That's Omegon and Alpharius, of course. His brother Alpharius was also adept at deceit, so we could look at that personality and say, well, duplicity looks like a genetic trait from the Emperor. And now this is further compounded when Corvus Corax sees the Emperor's true form. I quote, "Finally, Corvus's mind could fight no longer against the glamour, and he saw the new arrival as his followers did, and was filled with an overwhelming urge to play obeisance to the stranger." We also have to remember that the Emperor is a politician too. During Magnus's upbringing on Prospero, the pair of them would often commune. The Emperor had an influence on the Thousand Son Primarch's upbringing. Magnus was also incredibly loyal to the Emperor. It took the burning of his home planet and destruction of his legion by the Space Wolves before he turned. Taking into account of what we just said about the duplicity of the Emperor being passed down to his children, how did he not know what was happening to Prospero, adding the very strong psychic link they had with each other? The Emperor must have known something was happening. The Emperor was going to give Magnus a brand new legion without the flesh change, which actually brings us a big question. If he could do that, why didn't he do that straight away? Once again, we see Magnus's loyalty here. His loyalty of Magnus was to his legion more than it was the Emperor, refusing this gift and keeping his original legion. There would have been no way Magnus would have turned without the events of Prospero. Yeah, we're going to come back to that as well. Now the biggest traitor of them all, Lorgar, Primarch of the Wordbearers. Lorgar's upbringing is the biggest indicator of the Emperor's plans. Lorgar's homeworld of cultures was overtly religious, with a theocracy that ruled the planet, guided the planet in the worship of the Chaos Gods. During Lorgar's time living on cultures, he would join the Covenant, the leader of the planet, only to turn on them. Not in the name of a dark pantheon, but in the name of a single god clad in gold, a god that came to Lorgar in his dreams. I spoke of Magnus and his communication with the Emperor and how it could have shaped his personality. The communications between Magnus and the Emperor was like a father to son, very different from appearing like a god to Lorgar. These communications with Lorgar meant the Emperor also knew his whereabouts, but Leman was then Ferrus Manus. Anyway, get back to that. Basically, he knew his whereabouts, but Leman was the second one, then Ferrus Manus, and next importantly was Fulgrim. So after finding Horus, which was the closest, the Emperor had to deliberately divert away from cultures. This brings us to Monarchia, the crowning jewel of the Wordbearers' crusade. Ultramarines levelled this city from an orbital strike. The Wordbearer method was to preach that the Emperor was a god, and believed this was the only way to guarantee loyalty. This also looks like the Emperor punishing Lorgar was something the Emperor told him to do. This is not the only time the Emperor stopped a Primarch being how he was designed. The Edict of Nicaea stymied Magnus and his very psychic legion. That's two Primarchs the Emperor seemed to punish for the way he created them. This shows how duplicitous the Emperors can be. There is another gift the Emperor gave his sons, the gift of foresight. This gift that develops two types of people, the fatalist and the paranoid, just like Sanguinius and Conrad Kurz. Now, a lot of people seem to think that Conrad Kurz was the fatalist. Sanguinius was the fatalist. Knowing where and when he was going to die meant he could do what he needed to do, knowing he was going to survive. Conrad Kurz was paranoid and tried to constantly fight the visions and change the future. This was never going to work out, always going to give the Night Lord Primarch a fractured mind. Now, know what happened and how it was meant to happen. Foresight is not something you'd engineer into a person without previous experience of it himself. With the fact that the Emperor was going to teach the Primarchs, he didn't know how to use his gift personally. Though I've got an idea, those villas were just there for show. They were never going to be used. He had a lot of time and a lot of money. That was never going to be outside of what he can do. Anyway, with these factors of duplicity in not only the Emperor, but engineered into the Primarchs, deliberate stopping of ideas and powers he gave to the Primarchs, gift of foresight making one, at least, paranoid, someone was going to turn traitor. The first one, of course, was the one he appeared as a god to in his dreams. So the Emperor sowed the seeds of betrayal that would lead to the Horus Heresy. We know that Lorgar wrote the Levitico Divinitatis, probably after being inspired by his dreams, but the Emperor said he didn't be worshipped as a god. Anyway, so why would he have everyone perceive himself as a tall golden giant, when he was clearly not built like that? He would have been just over 5 foot given the time he was born, and humans do stop growing. Why would he make Magnus incredibly psychic, only to tell him not to use his powers? Finally, why would he appear to Lorgar as a god? Tell the Primarch to go on a holy crusade to rid his planet of other religions, so they could only worship the Emperor. The Emperor destroys Monarchia, ridicules Lorgar in front of the Primarch of the Ultramarines. And now that act alone is a deliberate act to cause strife between two legions. Talking about aggression between two legions, we had the Thousand Sons under Space Wolves. Leman Russ and his Space Wolves were told to arrest Magnus and bring him to Terra. Of course, Horus changed this to kill Magnus. The problem arises when we realise Magnus destroyed the Webway Gate after Garrow told Dawn about Horus's betrayal. So, either Rogel Dawn didn't pass the very important message to the Emperor, or the Emperor didn't tell Leman Russ not to trust Horus, thus making two legions fight, hoping one would wipe out the other. The Space Wolves had superior numbers, the battle was never in question. So if the Emperor was ignorant of Horus's betrayal at this point, it means Rogel Dawn is at fault for the lack of time needed to prepare. If the Emperor was deliberately omitting this pertinent information, the legion the Emperor sent had to be the one and only legion that was permitted to use Psykers. So that the most powerful Psyker Primarch was being chastised and apprehended for using his powers by the one legion that was allowed to use Psykers. Now I know they say rune priests aren't Psykers, they're Psykers. Now we come to the most important part, and that was making a Primarch Warmaster. Why is this important? Because it removed the Emperor from the Great Crusade. Now the argument he did it to work on the Webway project. Now this is a flimsy argument because it would have been easier if he had waited till after the Great Crusade. That way he could use the Primarchs and their legions to work on it from their side and join all together wherever the Emperor wished. So let's say you have Horus at Catonia, he could meet halfway between that Catonia and Macragge for the one to link the Ultramarines and Wolves. Anyway, as I was saying, it would link the relative sectors together. To do it during his crusade was foolish and only made it harder for himself. And why was it a secret? The legions had fought the Eldari on numerous occasions. They were aware of the Webway. So why keep the human one secret at all? It makes zero sense unless removing himself would create a new line of communication, and also further distance himself from the Primarchs. Now, and if there was any issues with allegiance, the Primarchs would have to go through an intermediary. This could have been a neutral party, like a Captain General of Custodes, but the Emperor put a Primarch in charge. Even though Horus was well liked, he was not liked by everyone. This would cause biases when it comes to allegiance he didn't like or didn't like him. Then what if that Primarch turned traitor, like he did? Well, as we saw, communication to the Emperor was cut off. If it wasn't for Nathaniel Garrow stealing the Eisenstein, Horus's betrayal wouldn't have become known. The third neutral party would have prevented the Horus Heresy, as the Emperor would have gotten the news straight away, and if an intermediary had been killed, the Emperor would be aware something was wrong as well. Right, so separating the Primarchs is usually the unknown that people go to. The Emperor didn't orchestrate it, yet these following events would have still happened. The Emperor leaving to work on the Webway project in secret, making him a Primarch War Master, and Horus even being stabbed with a layer blade. None of these have anything to do with the scattering Primarchs. Even the pit of Bel Chaos saving Horus, that is probably going to happen before Horus was to have died. Anyway, leading on to a Horus Heresy happening, but Primarchs being thrown through the webway had very little effect. So as you can see, when you look at this, you have so many effects that show the Emperor is pretty much guaranteed a civil war, and most of it he orchestrated. Like I said, you had Lorga, literally telling Lorga he was a god, getting him to do a holy crusade on his own planet to fight the four Chaos Gods, who they were worshipping on cultures. Then, when he continued that crusade off planet into the galaxy as part of the Great Crusade, he was chastised for it. And the Emperor said he didn't want to be worshipped as a god, yet he had already told Lorga he did. Then you have Magnus. Magnus who, he messed up. He messed up bad, destroying the Webway portal in the Webway project and allowing demons to invade the palace, the Imperial Palace. But why did he not tell Leman Russ about Horus's betrayal? Why didn't he say, look, you're going to Prospero, I want you to bring Magnus in alive. This will not change. If anyone changes it, especially one of your brothers, or if the War Master tries to change this, don't listen to him. I want Magnus brought in alive. He didn't have to tell why he had his suspicions about Horus. He didn't have to say anything like that. He just said, these are not going to change. These are my rules. This is my law. I've demanded you bring him in alive. This will never change. Do not believe anyone saying this will change. Yet, he didn't. And that would have stopped the Thousand Sons from turning. Leman Russ, okay, he's not the most diplomatic of Primarchs. He probably would have got into a fist fight with Magnus, but Magnus would have come in alive. And that would have saved one trade allegiance from turning and remain loyal. And as we talked about the Primarchs, why was a Primarch made War Master? Why not Adeptus Custodian? Why not a human? Now, I know we can say because Primarchs are bigger, but think about this, right? Humans were going to inherit the galaxy anyway. They were going to be in control. As we see now, when the High Lords of Terror are for humans. Yes, they answer to Wibute Guilliman, but he still has to acquiesce to human demands. Because they were going to inherit the galaxy, it would have been better if it was a human, like an Imperial Army officer or someone like that, someone the Emperor trusted as an intermediary to go, right, this is who you talk to if you've got any problems. And if he died, suddenly went missing and went cold, the Emperor would have known straight away. As he made it Horus, his War Master, as soon as Horus turned, Horus was still telling the Emperor stuff, but it was lies and deceit because he didn't have to tell him the truth. All he had to do is report back. And he was never going to remain honest after he turned. And finally, with duplicity. We have seen on a number of occasions the duplicity of the Emperor. He lied about a number of things. And he did. He's a politician. That's what politicians do. So when anyone talks about the Emperor, I automatically go, right, this guy's a politician, we can't take him at his word. And that's what you need to do. You can't take him at his word. So let's say, when he shows the villas off, saying, look, I was going to teach you here, he was telling Magnus what he wanted to hear. He wasn't. That could have been, it could have just been built up there and then. You know, it wouldn't have taken him much time to get that done. Very simple. And that's it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And it's been a good one actually. It was quite enjoyable, and I read so much for this video. I'm not joking. I read so much. And I reckon I could even do a bit of a bigger deep dive into this. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting as much as I did. Sorry for the gameplay footage because I wanted to make this nice and easier for me to actually get something out on time for Monday and not just have a sideshow for you guys. As always, the link to Wayland Games is down below, as is Footprint Planet Patreon if you wish to get your name in the credits. And you may actually get early releases of videos. I don't know yet. Honestly, I don't. I never know what to do for material. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and of course there's my comic and my t-shirts as well, all done by my two hands. Hand-drawn comics. Not hand-published. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a good day, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.